What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? Daniel Acevedo. He is back, ladies and gentlemen. So, konbanwa from Japan.
Let's go, guys. Nice to be back.
That's what's up. So he's in the Other Side of the Firewall studios in Japan, which I have not visited yet.
Y'all welcome to come whenever you want.
There it is. But yeah, so another great week. So definitely tune in Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. I'll have on Rico Rando from Them Tech Folks podcast. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
Right, everybody. So this article comes from Reuters.com, right? Written by Crystal Hugh and Sheila Dang. And it's titled, TikTok Preparing a U.S. Copy of the App's Core Algorithm, Sources Say, right? So we covered this a month and a half ago about how the judgment came down that TikTok and their parent ByteDance have to go ahead and either do some type of divestiture or change the way they're doing things to operate in the United States, right? And they were none too pleased with it. They were fighting it before the judgment came down, and now they're like, okay, well, we can't go about doing this and provide the same type of service, right? So what they're doing now, and they say this was happening, they were splitting their source code, and they say this was happening before the judgment came down, but I don't know. Maybe they were, because like the writing was on the wall before it actually came down that, hey, this is what we're going to want. And it was kind of a poorly kept secret, that this is what the United States was going after. But they say that they've been doing it since late last year, right? Which is when the bill came up, which was before the bill came up to force a sale, right? So they're talking about how it's been leaked, I should say, right? Because ByteDance isn't giving this information out, but it's people that are talking on condition of anonymity, right? Yeah. Anonymity, because they're not authorized to speak about it, right? So they're saying, hey, this is what they're trying to do. They're going to separate the code, but by doing that, you're not going to get the same type of functionality. I don't want to say functionality, but the same type of, I don't want to say service either, but the algorithm
Support.
that they have. Support. Yeah, that's probably a better way to say it, right? You're not going to get the same type of support, and you're not going to get the same type of like algorithms that are geared towards you, right? Because this is millions of lines of code they got to go through and then separate it to where it's to the liking of the United States, right? And you can convince the U.S. that this information isn't used for nefarious purposes or going back to China for any type of spying or anything like that, which is kind of what was being worried about, but not kind of being said too out loud. You know what I'm saying? But they had a timeline. I want to say their timeline in the article here, it states it's like 270 days, right? Was what they got to go ahead and make this happen. And they're like, that is not enough time if we're even going to do it. But this is going to be, it's going to be quite interesting, right? So like, I don't have TikTok, right? So for me, I don't know what algorithms are pointing to whom for whatever content, but but I wonder if for whatever reason they do this and they separate the code and then it goes downhill from there, right? To where people are like, this is not my interests. Your code is broken, right? Which I think is the same thing that happens on like Netflix and whatnot, right? Like I watch stuff on Netflix and I'm like, how did you direct this to me? Like I don't watch, whatever this dumb thing is that you suggested to me, right? But I don't know how these algorithms are done, right? But I've had people send me stuff like on Instagram and whatnot, right? Same type of thing. Like there's some type of algorithm that depending on what they watch, they send it to me, and I ask them, I'm like, how did you come across this? Like, what are you watching to where this is what happens? But this is probably what's gonna end up happening with TikTok though, is that they're gonna get suggestions for videos and things of that nature. They're like, I don't know how this came about, but it's probably because you've broken up this code, right? Because you're not getting the full code you were getting when ByteDance had sole control of everything. They're gonna have to change it up. So we'll see how it goes. But Daniel, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, as I lost focus there for a second. I don't know, there's a lot of things to go through and comb through here. I don't know, if you look at it, what would be a better way to cause civil unrest than TikTok? I'm paraphrasing because I was trying to look through the article to find the exact quote that was in the article, but essentially, they're saying that the U.S. is worried about TikTok's potential in steering and gearing how the algorithms bring these kind of traffic to these people to kind of like, influence them and control the nation, right? But, TikTok's been around since 2016 or before. That thought as a nation state from the U.S. should have come at that point, even before when TikTok was being introduced. But do we have those kind of like red tapes and barriers in place as a government and as a society to really think about that kind of thing? Whereas, we're so influence driven and influencer driven right now as a society in the US that it's kind of like the more the merrier, more things and more ways I can expose myself, I can expose my family, my friends to make a dollar, to, have my minute of fame, my 5 minutes of fame. That's kind of what we're looking at as a society, unfortunately. It's not the best thing. It's not something I'm really proud of as an American, but it's the truth. So I wish that we had more of that consciousness as a society geared towards those things, right? Like, hey, this could have been a platform and a tool from this nation state long-term goal over many, many years to kind of infiltrate. May never know. It just could have been some rich billionaires that came up with a really catchy idea, and this is how it went about, right? But I think the US now sees how mainstream it is and thinks you sees it as a tool that can be used for those goals, and is now trying to retroactively like pull back the curtain and kind of correct the navigation. I will butcher this, but if you look up how the Department of Treasury does a similar thing with allowing different students from different countries to come and study in the best schools in the US, and they're studying in the best programs with some of the best IP, kind of like what the US does as cutting edge. And then they're allowed to study there and then bring it back to their country, and then their country's nation states will just replicate it and spread it. And now it's no longer belongs to the US. The Department of Treasury or one of the departments that has to do with like funding says that they get millions and millions of dollars for these student visas, but the IC community says, hey, we're losing our IP to these different nation states because we're allowing their students to come in. And it's kind of along the same lines, right? There is always a back and forth within the government, and nobody seems to be kind of on the same side. So, are we on the side of security and kind of trying to be forward leading as a nation? AI is, the forefronter in that, which we don't know if we're going to be the main contenders in there either, or these new, forward technologies that'll come out in the next 10 years driven by AI. So what are we going to learn from TikToks of the world and these different things to kind of, better protect the US and hopefully create some harmony between the nations, right? It's getting a little frictious out there. There's a lot of wars going on. So I know that's kind of like a big roundabout way to dissect the article, but I think TikTok's a very small thing that snowballed into the very big thing, and the next TikTok that comes down after this one goes away, whether it be US driven or not, it can say a lot about what happens. I don't know. Those are my thoughts, Ryan. What do you think?
Both of you bring up some really good points. I'm a little bit on the other side of the fence, right? I'm more the conspiratory side. But before I get there, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We generated a lot of content last week, so make sure you all get a chance to see it. So we did 4 episodes of the other side of the firewall, 1 episode of Ask a CISP or Ask a CISSP. I dropped 2 articles for Ask a CISSP dealing with how to build GPTs and then our new GPTs. I built 2 of them and put them on the marketplace. So one is called Ask a CISSP, go figure, and the other one is GRC Evaluator. So definitely check out those articles. And then on top of that, I was on the inaugural, can't say it, the first, there you go, episode of the Tech Tuesdays by Brian Odes. He's from the Black Speakers Network, and we talked about GPTs and dabbled a little bit in security as well. So a lot of content. If you want to get all of it, please go to the newsletters called the Weekly Rundown. You can find it on both Medium and LinkedIn. So please subscribe to it. You'll get all of that content because it was a lot of content that was pushed out. Then please, while you're at it, subscribe. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the month. I know it's a big ask. We're at like 403, so 97 people. I just need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And then we're going to try to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. But all that out of the way. So I'm like, I'm not a coder, right? I'm a computer science dropout. But that's not my forte. I didn't make it very far before I pivoted to psychology and then to cybersecurity, right? It's if there isn't a lot of spyware in it, why is it taking so long to replicate it? Copy, paste, then make some edits. I know it sounds too simple, right? Because there is millions of lines of code and what have you. But I'm pretty sure that there's some secret sauce in there that they don't want to give to whoever they divest the company to? And is that because it's nefarious, or is it because it's their IP? Could be both. I don't know. I'm on the other side of the fence where I think that there's a lot of stuff they have to get out before they give it to an American company, and then it gets snitched on, basically. Like, did you know they could do this? They can do that. It could be them protecting their IP, but at the end of the day, I don't use TikTok in that manner. I only push out stuff. I don't really care how they provide services to me because I'm not ingesting TikTok. I'm just putting our podcast on there to try to get some likes, try to get some subscribers. And that's probably why they hate me. And the algorithm shuts me down all the time. But yeah, I think that they're trying to get rid of code that both could be IP, but also that they're using for whatever nefarious reasons. Because it could be that it's not China spying on us. It could be that it's just TikTok spying on us. Because we already know Facebook and IG and all the other ones already do it anyway. So it could be their special flavor of spying. So that way they can gather more money, they can produce more things that appeal to you, they can sell your data, things of that nature. They might be trying to pull some of that out. But in my heart of hearts, I think it's because it's going back to the mothership, and they need to make sure that it's not shared with whomever the American company that picks it up. But that's just my 2 cents.
You might be onto something there, right? Like and we talked about this when the judgment came down, and we were like, yeah, I think we all believed, yeah, that was pretty much the case, right? Because why fight it so hard, right? We talked about how Meta is doing this. We talked about all these different companies out there, especially when it comes to social media, that are targeting you, right? Like you are the product, right? And the money is made from you and things like that. So I think you're onto something. I think you're right, but still, like it's amazing to me. Not, I shouldn't say amazing to me, but Daniel, the point you brought up about whether or not what it's going to do for the people, right? Like how are people going to react to this? I think that's going to be the big driver, right? So like if an American company does take it and it goes down to poop, right? Like it just drops off. Like TikTok is not what it used to be. Like what's going to happen then? Right? Like, are they going to be like, okay, well, we can't do this anymore. We're not providing the same amount, the same kind of service, level of service. What happens from there, right? So I'd be interested to see, but not firsthand, right? Because again, I don't have TikTok, right? Like it's whatever to me, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
But it seems like it's like almost like a boxing match, right? So it almost feels like TikTok hit first. They got ahead. They're making everybody in the US zombies, right? Because if you look at the type of information that's driven by like how it's in the US versus how it's over there, there was a good 60 Minutes article about that. I don't know how true it is, but over there it's like a lot of science stuff, a lot of like, it's geared completely different. Over here it's, influence driven, like all the dancing and, it's all
World
the
star.
crazy. Yeah. All that kind of crazy stuff. It's almost like we have this product and it's serving this purpose dually. We're making a bunch of money off of it. We're sedating the US and making them zombies. Our people are getting ahead. Now the US is like, wait a minute, this is really becoming a psychological detriment to the nation. So now you have 270 days to peel out a version of the code that's US only and has to be an American company. We're giving you an impossible task. And if TikTok goes down the toilet, then one of the US owned companies, whether it's the previous owner of Vine or any one of these other Twitter, X, or people that are here, then they'll just come up with a different flavor of Twitter that'll suffice what the people want. And then, people can go back to try to get their 5 minutes of fame and become an influencer through that means, but at least it's home driven. So
Right.
that's kind of what I think about that too.
I know you're trying to wrap it up, Ryan. I know. I see the clock. but it is our own doing, though, right? Like it's not like if we would have done what they did overseas in China, like nobody would be watching it, right? Like this is what we do in America. We want to do the dances. We want to show out. We want to, turn around and pretend like we're showing something else in the background when they're just showing these new leggings or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I'm guessing, right? But I don't know. Like they did it based off what we wanted, and they gave us what we wanted, and here's what we are. Here's where we are now, right? We're like, this is not good. Yeah, it's what we asked for, though. So
yeah, well, I mean that's all part of the freedom, right? Like so the other countries that it's in, to a certain extent. So there are certain aspects like you can't drink to your certain age, you can't drive to your certain age, you can't smoke to your certain age. So we do put restrictions on our citizens as well. But over there, obviously, it's like no, you will only consume X, you will only consume Y. You put up a great firewall to keep this stuff out of here, whether that be to their benefit or to their detriment because it's controlling. It's one way or the other. But here in the States, I think the driver is intel that it's spying. I really do. Like people are saying, it's conspiracy and whatnot, but like no one agrees on anything in Congress. But they everything else they can disagree on. But they were like TikTok bad. So what did they read that we don't that we can't see? We're just like, nah, can't have this. So I really do think it's past conspiracy, and I think it's factual. All the American companies, like Meta, is doing it as well, but Meta can be pulled into Congress to go to a hearing to then be locked up if necessary, and the owner of ByteDance cannot. So it's like, what are they doing, or what have they seen that it can do with, like you said, Daniel, civil unrest and things of that nature? Also, election season, right? All those things. What is it doing that they're not telling us it's doing? And they want to block it out. Or they could be pulling wool over my eyes, right? They can be making me feel there we go. That's a word. Making me a conspiracist in order to drive their agenda as well. So I could be a puppet in all of it. But at the end of the day, we just lose TikTok. So it doesn't seem that big of a deal. It is an infringement of rights to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, I really don't see its benefit, aside from some people are making some good money, but they can make that money on different platforms. I don't see why they can't just migrate to Meta and do the same thing. So I guess we'll see what the future holds. Like I for one didn't think they would even attempt to fix it. I thought they would just fight it because this is a foot in the door for the other Western nations to say, well, the U.S. did this, so we're going to do it too. So then that would crush TikTok and its ability to make money and to spy. And then B, they thought they were going to call the U.S.'s bluff, and it wouldn't be passed to begin with, and it was. So, we'll see what the future holds. They have 200 and some odd days to make it happen, because that was like a month ago, if not a little bit longer. If they want the money, they'll make it happen. If they don't want the money, it will then go away, like, because they're using it for different reasons. So that's just my thought behind it. So we'll see if they can make it pull through at the 11th hour.
And then your point will have been proven, right? Like if they just pull it away, you'll be like, yep, there was that spying stuff in there. That's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. So that we see you tuning throughout the week. Check us out on the Tuesday topics. So this is discussion Thursdays, SSSP, which will be Rico Rando from the Tech Folks, the VN, which stands for Develop Every Mind. Tech Folks, these are Rand as well. Check that out. And then Fridays, everything else, like you said, scams, all right, that stuff. We got our websites. Check me out on LinkedIn, as well as on the other platform that we're Security Guy. It's heard by our Security Guy. And we're paid for any day.
Just on LinkedIn for now.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.